scientists say shut it down?
I would shut it down. I would listen to the scientists. There is going to be no need, in my view, to be able to shut down the whole economy. I got asked by David Muir a question, if I was asked to shut everything down. I took that as a generic question, am I going to follow the science?
4 days and 3 backtracks, a brand new record for Joe Biden. You just heard his complete flip-flop on shutting down the economy, but that wasn't the only one. Biden promised during the debates to ban fracking as well, until Monday when he said this.
I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking.
And back in June, Biden said he would force all Americans to wear masks for 3 months, until yesterday, when he said he actually would not order a nationwide mandate.
You know, you can't do things the Constitution doesn't allow you the power to do.
Now, joining me now is Mollie Hemingway, senior editor at The Federalist and Fox News contributor as well. Also with me is Matt Schlapp, American Conservative Union chairman. Hello, you two. Welcome aboard. Thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here.
Now, Mollie, let's start with you. Doesn't Biden have a duty, when we just think about the nature of what the point is of running for president, doesn't he have a duty to be honest to voters about his actual policy positions? Or is this an indication that perhaps there is no foundation to any policy positions, that he's adjusting, as with my conversation with Victor, that he's adjusting based on what he thinks certain groups want to hear at the time?
Well, what's really interesting, you had a guest at the top of the show saying that the polls indicate that this race is over, that Joe Biden has won, that he doesn't need to do any campaigning. And that's actually true if you believe the polls. They do suggest that that he doesn't need to even campaign. So looking at what he's actually doing is just tremendously interesting. And his campaign appears to be in a bit of a panic. He did come out strongly saying he would shut down the economy if elected, that he would require everybody to wear masks. He said nothing at his convention about the violence that's gripping cities. And now all of a sudden he's dramatically changing his positions. I think that's because they know that these messages that he had put out are not resonating with voters, and they are a bit worried about having states that we're told are totally his, and that there's no way that they can be lost. I think he actually is very worried about it.
Well, you know, Mollie, because, and Matt, we know that was an issue with Hillary, and this seems to be a Democratic problem, of presuming that your base will simply do as they're told, that they don't expect independent thought, they don't expect things to change, that you've already been won over and that's good enough. After Hillary's debacle, is it possible they started this campaign with the same mindset?
Yeah, no, I think, look, he's been in politics a very long time, 47 years, and he's playing by these old rules. I can tell certain people one position, and I can tell others another position. He clearly told the base, this socialist, hardcore radical base of the Democratic Party, that I'm going to take the Obama agenda and I'm going to put it on steroids. But he knows in order to win the presidency that you have to appear to be somewhat in the middle in these purple states. And what we're actually seeing here, I try not to use the L word, Tammy, but he's being incredibly deceptive. There is no question that he has signed in blood with the base of his party that we're not going to have any more fossil fuels. He has signed in blood with the base of his party that there will be no regulations on abortion, and we're taking the nuns back to court because we're going to make nuns pay for abortions, as insane as that sounds. We're going to have all of these new tax increases. There is absolutely nothing moderate or centrist about any of Obama's positions except the titles. He's not for Medicare for all. He's for Obamacare Plus, Tammy. What the hell is the difference? Nothing.
Matt, I got you. Now, Joe Biden was asked if he agreed with his running mate, I want you to both listen to this, about this issue.
Your running mate, Senator Harris, said that the officer who shot Jacob Blake, based on what she has seen, should be charged. Do you agree with her?
I think we should let the judicial system work its way. I do think there's a minimum need to be charged, the officers.
Well, Mollie, his answer seemed kind of jumbled there, but we were looking even during the Kavanaugh situation about the Democrats wanting to get rid of due process. It seemed like he didn't want to take any kind of position except for one that was already condemning an officer without the investigation that he also then just called for.
Right, and this is an area where it would be nice for a lot of politicians to wait and allow due process to prevail. And we've seen so many of these riots that have gripped cities nationwide. They're happening in part through people rushing to judgment and not trusting the process to work. And sometimes they're operating with flawed information. And in this case in particular, I think the media have contributed to the chaos by not accurately describing the situation of why the police were even having an interaction with Jacob Blake, what his resisting of that arrest was, what that situation was like. And so you'd really hope that presidential candidates would work to calm things down rather than exacerbate the situation.
Right. Matt, quickly, we got a few seconds here. What's your take on his strange, jumbled answer to that simple question?
Yeah, once again, you can just tell he's trying to figure out the lane he needs to occupy to try to convince voters that he's their man. And the big problem he has in all this is you can't be pro-cop and you can't say you're against violence if you can't call out Black Lives Matter and Antifa and these groups. He won't say their names. You know why, Tammy? Because he's not going to offend the base of his party. And this is the problem for Joe Biden. It's just not believable.
It's a big problem. It's a big problem, and it clearly is not someone who can represent all Americans. So, Mollie and Matt, thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it.